Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. Janelle's off tonight. The Amber Alert for 3 Great Falls children has been canceled and those children found safe. The children were abducted in the middle of the night by their non-custodial parents with a history of drug use and violence. A phone that belonged to the suspects last pinged in Idaho just over the Montana state line. Now, Tony DeMontigny and Elora Wright each face 3 charges of custodial interference. Also in custody, the children's grandfather. He's facing 3 felony charges for accountability to custodial interference. Well, teenagers killed and others wounded in a deadly shooting at a high school in California. As CNN's Nick Watt reports, a teenage gunman opened fire on his birthday.
It was absolutely terrifying.
At least 2 students dead, others injured.
Active shooter at Saugus High School. All schools in vicinity are on lockdown.
Around 7:30 a.m. at a high school about 30 miles northwest of Los Angeles, students were arriving, starting their days.
When we heard the first gunshot, we thought it was not something serious, and then we heard 2 more.
Detectives have reviewed the video at the scene, which clearly show the subject in the quad withdraw a handgun from his backpack, shoot and wound 5 people, and then shoot himself in the head.
We heard the gunshots and we just were like, let's go, let's run. We had to go underneath the pipeline, so we literally crawled underneath the pipeline.
6 injured students were triaged, then rushed to local hospitals. Turns out one of them was the shooter.
I saw all kinds of kids running up the street, screaming, crying, yelling. They were saying, "Oh, can we go in your house?" And there's like, I don't know, there must have been 20 of them went in my house. I want to make sure they were safe. Students have prepared for this, trained for just such a terrifying active shooter situation.
We heard from our friends who are still stuck in school that they're hiding in closets. They're just trying to find anything.
They're texting us that they're scared to die and they're hiding in closets, and
it's very sad.
This mum had just dropped off her 16-year-old son when the gunfire started.
I was just panicked the whole entire morning until I heard from him again, and he said he was okay.
The panic is over. The gunman no longer a threat to others. He is in grave condition in the hospital.
The weapon that he used was recovered at the scene. It's a .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol, which had no more rounds in it, had no more bullets in it.
But the grief remains. So too the fear for those injured and the shock. We all know these shootings happen, but when it happens in your community,
You won't let go of your daughter.
no, I'm scared.
It was very scary. We heard the 1 shot and then 4 after, and we just started running, and just all I heard was all these kids running and just screaming and calling their parents, and it was very sad.
Well, the suspect has been identified as Nathaniel Burhow. His mother and girlfriend were brought in for questioning. Billings Public School Superintendent Greg Upham says the Billings school system has seen its fair share of threats since the October 22nd incident at Senior High when police received a report of a person with a gun near the school. Now, we recently sat down with Upham to talk about what the reality is for Billings schools and what's being done.
I don't think we can live in fear. We can't run from this. It's where we are. The reality is that we work toward it. We prepare our people for it. We address it appropriately, and that we talk about it. I think the most important part is to talk about it.
Well, Upham says it's time to enforce the if you see something, say something mentality. He says it's not about being a snitch, it's about the safety of everyone. A man accused of shooting 2 people at a truck stop in Hardin back in October, Gary Huggs Jr., has been charged with attempted murder. Authorities said one victim was shot in the face, the other was shot 3 times in the front of his body. Montana Fish and Wildlife Parks Warden Jacob Barzone witnessed the shooting and attempted to intervene, firing several shots during that incident. Barzone was able to identify Huggs, who fled the truck stop and eluded law enforcement during a chase. Huggs is scheduled to be arraigned in court on Tuesday in Bighorn County. Bozeman High School students voicing their concerns over the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, saying the on-campus group discriminates against LGBTQ students. The group used to be an officially sanctioned club at the school, but some students claimed it discriminates against the LGBTQ community by requiring its members to sign a sexual purity pledge that forbids sex outside of marriage and homosexuality. FCA is still allowed to meet on school property, and the students want to try and stop that.
So we understand that policy can sometimes only get us so far, but we found it concerning that a group could be openly discriminatory and have discriminatory views towards an at-risk community in a public school.
Well, the students that spoke at the school board meeting said they would like to see the local FCA chapter break away from the national club's application that requires students to sign that pledge before joining. A group of local volunteers from Madison County are helping families stay warm during the harsh winter months. MTN's Dom Tibbetts takes us to Sheridan, where the Ruby Valley woodcutters are lending a helping hand.
Make no mistake, what you're seeing is no lumberyard. This is the Ruby Valley Wood Bank, a nonprofit charitable organization that supplies wood for cooking and heat to the communities of South Silver Bow, West Madison, and all of Beaverhead County.
By and by, over the past 24, 25 years, the service keeps kind of growing slowly, according to need and according to the availability of volunteers in a particular area.
And Father Harry would be the first to tell you that this operation would be nothing without the hardworking volunteers he has, all of whom have an average age of about 70 years old.
It's amazing, and I think part of our aging process is helped by what we're doing, by thinking outside of ourselves and helping others. And that's what these guys do, and they do a great job of it.
These volunteers are made up of 2 retired Navy captains, a retired Army nurse, and retired enlisted soldiers, so serving their community comes naturally to them. And once the volunteers get done cutting and splitting the wood, it goes into this massive pile you see right over here, where then more volunteers take the wood and throw it into this donated truck, where it then becomes donated to needy families in the Ruby Valley community. And it couldn't be more perfect time, because Father Harry, I need a break.
Not yet.
That old saying of you get what you give couldn't be more true for the Ruby Valley Wood Bank.
And we are fed by people who volunteer their services and money and equipment and everything else, and then we are served in that circle, and we serve our clients in that circle, and it comes right around again.
In Sheridan, Dom Tibbetts, MTN News.
Well, the organization meets every week and is always looking for volunteers, we're told. There's more news from across our state on tonight's MTN 9 o'clock news. Join me for today's top stories impacting Montana families and their lives on your statewide newscast at 9 on the CW. But first, still to come on tonight's 5:30 news, award-winning journalist Laura Logan in Billings tonight. We're going to sit down with her to hear her story.
And I'm Casey Conlon coming to you from the Brick Breeden Fieldhouse in Bozeman, where another all-class state volleyball weekend is underway. First round highlights coming up.
And coming up in weather, hey, we got up to 50 degrees today. Guess what? That means we get to keep those 50s right on through the weekend, but it comes at a cost. We're looking at some more fog moving into the region. We'll tell you all about it coming up.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.